All right, I'm live. I'm not really doing this so that people watch it. It's like midnight here. I don't think people are gonna watch it. Please excuse my headset as I'm doing this on my work computer, which has terrible audio otherwise, so I have to use a headset so you can hear me. Really, this is basically like a blog. I mean, that's what I'm assuming I'm gonna do is either do live videos or do recorded videos of just me experiencing grief of the loss of my mom as time goes on, just as a reminder, as a diary for myself. Um, the last couple of days, I've been really feeling it. It is May 3rd right now, but it's 11:59. So in 1 minute, it'll be May 4th. May the 4th be with you. And May 4th is going to mark the 50th day that my mom has been gone. And I just wake up sometimes and I want to go to Facebook and I want to see that my mom is there on Facebook and that she's posting things and that she made new art and that, maybe she commented or liked one of my posts. And that's hard for me because I have to realize that she's not there anymore. Like not physically there anymore, not able to post or comment or like or message me anymore. And it's very surreal in a sense that 2 months ago, uh, I took for granted that she did any of those things. And I I know since my mom's diagnosis, she was diagnosed on December 7th of 2018. I know that since her diagnosis, that she was I don't I don't want to use the word terminal. Um, but she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, so she had a limited amount of time, and that was obvious. Um, I mean, some people have been lucky to get stage 4 and Big Night knows what stage 4 and have like fully recovered, like there's no evidence of disease. And sometimes it takes years to get there. But despite the fact that I was very uh, positive, that I thought, man, my mom could totally pull through this. She's a tough person and she's young. Her body was fighting so well that she might be one of these people that after a few years or after 6 months or a year that she might have some remission or she might at least have less cancer in her body. That she might be able to go through surgery and have things removed that were infected and diseased. And man, I really thought that. So, setting myself up for failure or disappointment, I guess, by being super positive because you can't in any regard, in any case, you can't be anything else. Or I can't. Other people can. I can't be anything else. I have dealt with a lot of shit in my life. A lot of shit. And even though I have dealt with a lot of shit, I realize other people have dealt with more shit. Uh, but for whatever reason, the shit that I'm given, the shit that I've had to deal with, I if I let myself feel defeated by a situation or by people or by how something makes me feel, then there's no point. I need to feel positive because by nature, I could be a very negative person if I let myself succumb to that. And a lot of that is mental health struggles and me you know, helping myself through therapy and all that. But really for my mom, she was just so negative about it, um, because it's not good news, like, to anybody. I mean, obviously, it's not good news, but for me, for my mom, I had to stay strong, and I truly believed that she would have more time and that with enough prayers or enough healing energy or enough change in her dietary intake or whatever, that she would become better, that she would get better, that she would no longer be sick, that she wouldn't be as afflicted anyway. Maybe she's still sick, maybe she still has cancer, but maybe she goes to stage 3 or something like that. I'm just gonna cry this whole video, so FYI. Um, and now that it's after the fact, I feel kind of stupid for feeling that way. In the moment, it felt right to be positive and to keep encouraging her to fight. And I think it helped her because she saw somebody that believed in her and that cared for her and that supported her no matter what was happening and no matter how negative she got or how pessimistic she got. And so, going back to my original point, I'm long winded if you can't tell. Going back to my original point, it's hard to believe that she's gone. And my brain cannot fathom and cannot wrap itself around the fact that I'm never gonna see her again, that, um, she's never gonna be in my life again, that she will never have a conversation with me or like a Facebook post or comment on something or message me. It's just really hard for me to understand that, and I know I'm a logical person, so I know that she's gone forever. It's not that I'm in denial about that. It's just that for one brief moment, sometimes in the morning, right after I wake up, I think about and I get excited about, oh, I wonder if mom liked a post, or I wonder if she saw that picture I posted, or I wonder if she messaged me, or I wonder if she posted some of her new artwork that she did. And then I get on Facebook, and right now my profile picture is the card that my brother created for her celebration of life. And it's one of the more recent photos of her. And she looks like she's looking up at heaven. And on my Facebook profile, it's funny because with the background, it looks like she's looking at me because my background is me with a bunch of my sisters of Perpetual Indulgence here in the Grand Canyon area in Phoenix. And it looks like she's looking at me. It looks like she's watching over me. And when I see my profile picture, I remind myself, I remember, oh yeah, she's gone. And so the hard part for me right now is really accepting that, really getting my brain used to that because, again, in the moments where I'm maybe in that liminality between being asleep and being awake, I think about those things. And I think that's going to be normal for a long time because I have to adjust to knowing that she's gone. And my brain just thinks like she's there. She's just there still, you know, and that's hard for me right now. That's where I'm at right now with this. And so I'm struggling with that, and I'm still struggling with feeling guilty a lot. And I know that none of this was my fault. But that doesn't mean that I don't want to bargain or compromise or say, well, if I just did this, then this would be different. Or if I had just done that, that would be different. Or if I just was with her, that would be different. Uh, None of that logically makes any sense. None of that is true. I know that I can't blame myself for what happened. Uh, but at the same time, I still feel so guilty. And I'm so sad for her because she didn't have the life that she wanted. And I feel that when I started my mental health journey that I focused on myself a lot, which is what one should do when you're on a mental health journey. But part of that mental health journey also meant that I was maybe cutting her out a little bit or maybe avoiding her a little bit because so much of my triggers were related to my parents. They are related to my parents. And when I'm around my parents, I have those triggers. I feel those emotions again. I get upset. I get frustrated. And so, in order to keep myself healthy, to keep my mental stability there, I would avoid her. I wouldn't go over to the house very often. And that is a selfish thing to do, but it's also something that I needed to do for myself. And so, despite the fact that I know that that was the right choice for me, I still feel guilty because I didn't take advantage of the time that I could have had with my mother when I had the time. And no one could tell me or nobody could uh, convince me that I would only have this much time with her. And yet, even though that is all true, I don't know. I don't know how we could have had a different relationship. I don't know how we could have talked to each other more, or I feel like she did confide in me a lot, but the way in which she confided in me was different than how others confided in me, and so I took it as negative or pessimistic, wherein the situation she was probably just thinking, "This is the only person in my life that I could talk to that would listen to me and validate me and not judge me," because I think that she knew, and I hope that she knew that despite the fact that uh, we weren't the same person, that I don't, or I didn't want to in any way be her for a really long time. That doesn't mean that I don't want to be her now, because there are certain aspects of her that I am and that I always will be, and that's uh, something I've discovered along the way. But despite all that, um, despite the fact that there were definitely times when I didn't want to be anything like her, uh, I still held a space in my heart for her so that she could talk to me, so that she could confide in me, so that she could give me some of her worries, her anxiety, her depression, and I could help her in whatever way I could. And most of the time, I felt frustrated because she didn't seem like I was helping her, or she didn't acknowledge that. And those are valid feelings at the same time that I'm sure she felt feelings of frustration or being upset that she was giving me all this information. She was confiding in me. And yet, at the same time that she was confiding in me, I wasn't helping her out in her situation. And maybe sometimes she didn't want me to help out. Maybe she just wanted to complain to get it off her chest, and that was her therapy. I don't know. Um, but I hope that she knows that despite the fact that we were very much not the same person, my cat, that I did love her, that I felt that her feelings were valid, that she wasn't a burden on me at all, that even though we had a strained relationship, I would be there for her. And I was. I was there for her every second that I possibly could be. And I hope I hope that was enough. I know I feel like a failure because I tried so hard to save her and I didn't. And I also realized that that's not and excuse me if you are not religious, but that's not what God wanted. That was not in his plan. And therefore, he took her home, even though I didn't want that, even though I tried to stop that from happening. And so, even though I know that's true and I know that everything happens for a reason, I'm still asking myself, why did this happen? Because I don't have that reason yet. And so, therefore, it seems illogical to me. Uh, and not only that, but, oops, not only that, but I also, uh, I feel like I failed because I feel like even though I didn't have any control over the situation, I felt like I was trying to control the situation. I know that drove my mom nuts, because she didn't like that, because 'cause I'm a type A personality and she wasn't. Uh, but at the same time, it was all in her best interest. It was all for her, and I was there for her as much as possible, and I advocated for her, and I knew about her medications and when she was getting treatment and what kind of treatment she was getting and what medication she was on and what electrolytes she was on and what they were giving her for depression and what they were giving her for anxiety and what they were giving her for sleep. I knew all of that because I was there for her the entire time that I could be. And despite the fact that I did all of that learning and all of that support and all of that caregiving, I still feel like a failure because she's no longer with me. She's no longer here. And I know I need to let go of that feeling of blame or guilt, but it's gonna be a long time. It's gonna take time. And it's gonna take a lot of time for me because I already have those issues. I already have these issues of it's always my fault. Regardless of what happens, it's my fault. I'm the one to blame. Hurt me, punish me because it's my fault. And a lot of that is part of my background and how I feel that I'm always the cause of some problem or something like that. And I know that's also not logical, and so I'm working through that mentally, trying to prepare myself or get myself to a better place where I'm not thinking that it's always my fault, and therefore I don't take blame all the time. But because I have already developed those feelings and it's really hard for me to let go of those feelings, I know I'm going to struggle with this. Something positive. I wanna end on something positive. It's been 20 minutes, it's a long time. I wanna end on something positive in that 2 weeks before my mom passed away, about 2 weeks, I kept seeing 11:11 on the clock, and I didn't know what that meant. And I talked to somebody that's a coworker of mine, and she said that she kept seeing 11:11 before her mom passed. And when she told me that, this was before my mom passed. When she told me that, I had already seen it a couple times and it really kind of freaked me out because, you know, it's just like not an old wives' tale, but it's just like an internet thing like, oh, 11:11 means that there's angels watching over you or that, somebody's going to pass because the heaven is coming closer or like whatever. There are different interpretations or explanations for why people see this time. And maybe it's just that your body is, cyclically, you're on like this circadian rhythm where you just keep looking at the clock at 11:11 a.m. and 11:11 p.m. and it's just a coincidence. However, when I was with my mom, and I'll tell this story in more detail later, but when I was with my mom and she passed away, I was the only one in the room, and she stopped breathing, and she was breathing really shallowly anyway. And when she took her last breath, I was like, I don't know if she's gonna breathe again. I don't know if she's gonna try to, you know, gasp for air because sometimes that happens. Sometimes they just stop breathing for a little bit and they come back to breathing. So I was scared. I didn't know what was happening. And I looked over at the clock and it said 11:11. And I just knew. I knew at that time that that was her time to go. And I can't stop seeing it. I see 11:11 all the time now. And I'm not trying to. I'm not watching my phone every 5 seconds until it hits 11:11. I will just feel something and I'll have to look at my phone or I'll have to look at my computer and it's 11:11 and I can't explain that. I can only explain that as this coincidence keeps happening because there was a reason for it to keep happening, that my mom wants me to know that she's there, that she's still with me. And there have been other things too. Other things that people consider, coincidences or uh, likelihoods that your dead relatives are visiting you. Things like seeing ladybugs, seeing cardinals, seeing hummingbirds, seeing butterflies, which, sounds like all of the animals that exist. Um, but those are all have been popular ones that people say are dead loved ones being reincarnated, visiting you as their spirit selves. Um, and I have seen a lot of those, and a lot of those have been popping up not only in my personal life outside when I go and walk to the store or whatever, but also online. Um, Today, my friend Bonnie tagged me in a video of a cardinal eating from a person's hand, and it's from the point of view of the person, and so the hand is out like this with a peanut on it, and it just seems like it's my hand, and I see this cardinal coming at me, and I just said, "Hello, mom. How are you doing? I missed you a lot." And I cried for like 30 minutes because whether you believe that's my mom or not, whether you believe that's one of your dead relatives or not, these kinds of coincidences of things popping up that people have told me about that represent people who have passed coming back to visit you. They just keep popping up. I can't explain why they keep popping up. And like, am I looking for it? Not really. Not necessarily. I'm not Googling like ladybugs and hummingbirds. I'm not looking that stuff up. It just pops up. And when that happens, I just feel like that has to be something. There's like everything happens for a reason. There's a coincidence there somewhere that is not just coincidence, but it is something happening for a reason. It is whether you believe in God or you believe in the universe moving shit around and making things happen for you. You believe in karma, whatever it is. Like, I feel like it has to be that. It has to be this higher power that I can't explain, whether you believe that religiously or scientifically or spiritually. Um, and so, I cry tears of joy when I see those things. I cry other tears when I think too much about the other things. And so I want to leave my video on that note because uh, that's what I cling to. And I need to just keep telling myself also that is, that is what I need to remember for my future self, that this too shall pass, and even though I won't ever get over my mom's loss, I will eventually get to a place where I'm better with my mom's loss, and I just need to remember that the positive things, the things that are showing me that she's still there. They're just going to keep happening until I don't need her anymore. I don't need her around visiting me or showing me that she's here. And maybe every once in a while I still will see those things. But for right now, I think she's sending me those things. She's making me see those things because I need it extremely and intensely right now. It's a lot. But 25 minutes later, I'm done with my first video. I will make another one when I feel so inclined. And hopefully this video will help me out in the future somehow. Have a good night. I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed.